Hi guys, today I'm going to take you through a 30-minute cycling specific workout. This is going to look at your all over body strength. So we're going to start looking at spinal mobility and shoulder strength. Then we're going to work into that core, glutes, and then finally into those legs and finish with some stretches. I hope you enjoy it. We will start now. So we're going to start standing up. We're just going to run through that Pilates setup. So bringing your feet together, we're going to take our heels out so we've made like a pizza slice. Toes come out to meet them. So now your feet are directly underneath your hips. We're going to take a little rock here, backwards and forwards. And then bring yourself to a standstill where that weight is evenly balanced between your heel and your toe. Picking up those toes, you're going to spread them out, place them back on the floor. So you've got a nice, strong, supportive base in your feet. Coming up those knees, make sure you're not pushing your kneecaps backwards and making the joint work. We want to soften off those knees, make the muscles work. Coming up to that pelvis, we're going to take a little rock backwards and forwards. I want you to think about your pelvis like a bucket. So it's this big bucket in the middle of us, and we're tipping the water out of the front and then out at the back. And then you're going to bring that to a standstill where it's sitting upright, so the water is staying in that bucket, and your tailbone should be pointing down at the floor. Then restacking those vertebrae, thinking about growing towards the ceiling. Next we're going to think about that pelvic floor. So it's an internal sling of muscles holding everything in. So we're going to imagine it a little bit like a lift that we get in and then we ride up slowly one floor at a time. So we're going to get in on 0. We're going to ride it up, feel that internal squeeze, bring those muscles up, holding it when you get to floor 10. Then slowly, with control, letting it back on. And again, up to floor 10. Then this time, what we're going to do is we're going to slowly go down floor by floor. And when we get to 2 or 3, we're going to stay there and hold it there for the rest of the session. Next, we're going to think about our TVA. So Transverse Abdominus is one of our core muscles. It's like a big corset-like muscle. So we're going to imagine we're wearing a really wide belt. We're going to draw that belt up to the 10th hole. So feel your waist getting smaller, your belly button moves towards your spine, and that's the cue I'll use to keep reminding you about that core connection. Then we're going to slowly let it back on. And again, we're going to go up to that 10th hole. So waist gets smaller, belly button moves towards your spine, holding it there. Then this time, with control, you're going to slowly let that back off. And again, when we get to that second or third notch of that belt, we're going to hold it there. So that's the 20 to 30% of our contraction that we want to hold for the rest of the session. And it shouldn't be so tight that you feel like you can't move. It should be a gentle hold on those stomach muscles. Okay, thinking about breathing, we're just going to visit breathing briefly, but we're not going to focus on it too much today because we haven't got time in 30 minutes. So you're going to interlace your fingers, bring them over your rib cage. Think about keeping that core, so belly button to spine, and then breathe with your diaphragm. Take a big inhale for me, and then exhale, and inhale, and exhale. So when you're running or cycling, you can always use your breathing to help you control that exercise. So when you're climbing up a hill, thinking about rhythm breathing, going along a long, hard straight, thinking about breathing slowly and deeply. One more breath for me. And exhale. Excellent. Well done. Final thing to think about are our shoulders. So we're going to take 3 big shoulder rolls backwards. And then 3 big shoulder rolls forwards. And then bring your arms down by your sides, where you feel like your shoulders are just sitting naturally. Think about those scapulars, so your shoulder blades being pulled down your back and sitting in the back pockets of your jeans, should you be wearing jeans. Okay, then we're going to interlace our fingers, bring our arms above our heads. I'm going to imagine we've got a big halo above our heads, and we're just going to polish that halo. So this is really good for shoulder mobility. It's just going to work into those shoulders. So when we're on our bikes, we're sitting in a static position, and your upper body takes quite a lot of tension. So this just helps to relieve some of that tension, just mobilise through those shoulders. And the other direction. So everything else is staying nice and still. I'm keeping my core engaged, so pulling my belly button towards my spine. Pelvic floor is still engaged. And I'm just making that lovely big circle. Okay, now I'm going to let my spine get involved. So my hips are still staying still, but my upper body is starting to move. It's a little bit like you've become a human lasso. I'm going to do 2 more in this direction. And reversing. So we're just mobilising through that spine. Think about your hips staying nice and still, so we're just working on that upper body at the moment. And final one. And bringing your arms down by your sides. Okay, going to think about those shoulders a little bit more. So to increase our shoulder strength, we're going to work on the stabilising muscles of those shoulders. One of them is your rotator cuff. So you're going to bring your arms up by your sides. Imagine you've got sponges in your hands. You're going to grip onto those sponges, squeeze the water out of them, then take your forearm out to the side. Bring it back to the middle and release. We're going to do 6 more of these. So squeeze and out. Hold, bring it back and release. 5 more. Squeeze and out and back and release. 4 more. Squeeze and out and back and release. 3 more. You're doing really well. So you're just working into that shoulder stability. Keep thinking belly button to spine. Keep that core engaged. Pelvic floor is still on, so we're still on floor. 3 of that lift. Knees are staying soft. Make sure you haven't pushed your kneecaps backwards. Keep those knees soft. And final one. Okay, then bringing your arms down by your sides. Okay, next we are going to start looking at the spinal mobility a little bit more. So you're going to bring your feet back underneath you, make sure they're hip distance apart, soft knees again. And we're going to do roll down. Now we're going to add press ups into this. If you have sore knees, you can put cushions under your knees if you want to. If you have sore wrists, you can put cushions underneath them. If you want to take out the press ups altogether because they're not quite for you, because you've got any injuries, then please do so. Work at your own level and just do what you can. So we're going to inhale at the top. Everybody come with me. And then we're going to exhale. Tuck your chin. Think about leading with the crown of your head. And we're going to slowly roll down through each vertebrae, one at a time. So keep your shoulder blades melting down your back. We're going to inhale at the bottom. And then we're going to exhale, restack. So we're just doing 1 roll down, and then we're going to add on press up. So pulling your pelvis forward so it comes back underneath you, keeping your ribs tucked into your hips and back to standing. Okay, so now we're going to add on those press ups. So we're going to inhale at the top, exhale, tuck your chin, think leading with the crown of your head, keep that core engaged, so keep thinking belly button to spine, knees stay nice and soft. This time when you get closer to the mat, you're going to walk your hands out so you come into like a plank position, and then slowly lower your knees to the floor. Make sure you bring your hips forward, but don't let your hips drop to the floor. So you're bringing your weight over your hands, but not bringing your hips down. Keep that core engaged, keep your hips where they are. Set those shoulder blades in your back, so make sure your shoulders aren't up, saying hi to your ears. And then from here, we're going to do 5 press ups. So we're just going down and back up again. 3, 2, and final 1. Okay, then bringing your feet back to hip distance apart, walking your hands in, making yourself into a little ball. You're going to bring your heels to the floor, straighten out your legs, inhale, and then we're going to exhale. Think about pulling your pelvis forward, keep your ribs tucked into your trousers, and slowly roll back to standing. Inhaling at the top. Okay, we're going to do 3 more of those. If you want to do a full press up, you're very welcome. If not, sticking with the box press up is absolutely fine. So we're just working through that spine, starting to mobilise through that back. When you get to the bottom, keep your heels on the floor for as long as possible. Walking out into your plank position, then slowly bring your knees to the floor. Engage that core, bring your shoulders away from your ears, and then take yourself to the mat. Now you don't have to go all the way to the floor, just go to where you feel comfortable. We're going to do 2 more. And final 1. And then bringing those feet back to hip distance. Straightening out those legs, but don't push your kneecaps backwards. Inhale here. And then exhale, think about pulling your pelvis forward. Keep your ribs tucked into your trousers. And slowly rolling back up to standing. Okay, 2 more like this. Inhaling. Exhaling, tucking your chin. Rolling down, starting with the crown of your head. You get closer to the floor, keeping those heels on the floor, walking out. Then if you're doing a box press up, you're going to bring your knees down. If not, staying into your full press up, you're going to take your whole body towards the floor. Make sure your hips don't drop. Whichever press up you're doing, keep your hips up. Keep yourself in a nice line. 1 more press up. And then walking your hands back in. Straightening out those legs. Inhale. And then exhale. Pull your pelvis back underneath you. Keep your ribs tucked into your hips. And roll back up to standing. Okay, final one. This time we're going to stay at the mat. So inhaling at the top. Exhale, tuck that chin. Lead with the crown of your head. Mobilizing through each of those vertebrae. Nice and slow and controlled. And keeping your heels on the floor for as long as possible. Walking out into that plank position. Bring your knees down if you're doing a box press up. And then we're going to do 5 press-ups. Here we go. Keep thinking belly button to spine. Keep that core engaged. And 2 more. And final 1. Okay, this time we're going to come back. Sit back on your knees. Bring your arms out in front of you. And just rest in child's pose. Make sure you haven't dropped your head to the mat. So think about keeping these vertebrae in the back of your neck, these cervical vertebrae, in a nice straight line. So you keep your head up. So you're looking down at the mat. Then we're just going to hold it there for a couple of breaths. Keep thinking about pulling your shoulder blades down your back. Then you're going to take your hands on a little walk. They're going to walk out to the left-hand side. You're going to hold it there. Pull through. You'll feel that stretch through your back. Just hold it where you can feel that stretch. Don't take it to where it's uncomfortable. Just hold it there. And then back to the middle. And taking your hands in the other direction. Holding it there. Just breathing into that stretch. This is a really nice stretch to do once you've finished a long ride. It really helps to just release any tension in that back. Take your back into extension or bring it back to normal instead of being in flexion. Then bring yourself back up. Awesome. Okay, right. First exercise on the mat is going to be swimming. So this is really good for strengthening through your back and through your glutes. So you're going to come down onto your front. Now I don't want you to just loll into the mat like you've just laid down to have a little bit of a sleep. Think about that core. So think about pulling your belly button away from the floor. Keep a little gap there. Pull your ribs down towards your hips. They're connected. Keep them connected. Ooh, buy a water bottle. Then your arms are coming out straight in front of you. Feet are lying straight on the floor. Thinking about those cervical vertebrae again. So your eye line is down at the floor. You can either keep your head on the little cushion in front of you, or you can lift your head, neck and shoulders off if you like. Holding that position, we're then going to inhale. Then we're going to exhale and think about stretching one arm forward. And then lower. And then the other arm. Stretching it forward and lowering it back down. Then each leg. Now when you lift your leg, think about lifting from your thigh, stretching that leg out and then placing it back down. And the other side, stretching it out, placing it back down. And again, we're going to do one more lift on each arm and leg, and then we're going to go on to opposite arm and leg. Keep thinking about that belly button. Keep it away from the mat. Imagine you're lying on an ice cube. Keep pulling that belly button away from the ice cube. So now we're going on to opposite. So you're going to lift your opposite arm and leg. really stretch them away from each other, and then slowly place them back down. And the other side, really stretch them up and away, and place them back down. Keep thinking belly button to spine, core stays engaged. I'm going to do 2 more on each side. Just check in with your leg. Make sure it's as high as your arm. They're often a little bit higher, so just try and lower that leg. Think about the length that you can create through that arm and leg, and not the height. And we're doing 1 more on each side. Okay. So we're now moving on to our second mat-based exercise, which is heel beats. So this is really good for your glutes and legs. If you make a little shape with your hands and then bring your forehead into it, I find that's the most comfortable position to be in. Shouldn't feel any discomfort in this one on your lower back. If you do, cut it out and just come and join us for the next exercise. So you're going to inhale here, bring your head, neck and shoulders off the mat if you wish, or keep them on if that's more comfortable. Then you're going to lift your legs from your thighs. So my thighs off the floor. I'm resting on my pubic bone. And then from there, you're just going to take your heels and beat them together for 5. Then you're going to slowly lower your legs back to the floor. Make sure when you do this that you don't push your belly into the mat. Keep that core engaged, think belly button to spine. So we're going to do 5 more of these. So we're going to lift those legs up. 5 little heel beats. 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly lower. And again, the legs come up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly lower. Try not to hold any tension in that upper back. Think about all the work coming from your legs and glutes. And we're going to do 3 more lifting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower. And 2 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly lower. And final one. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly lower. Okay. From there, we are going on to our side. So we're going to do clown next. This is really good for pelvic stability, and again, still working into those glutes. You can have a little cushion on top of your arm if you need a little bit more support. If not, just have your head resting on your arm. We're just trying to keep those cervical vertebrae in the back of your neck in a straight line. Then from here, core engaged, hips stay stacked. You're going to imagine you've got a really heavy book on top of that leg, and you're going to push that book up and off. Keep your pelvis nice and still and stable. So think about your hips being glued together. Keep them one on top of the other. Keep pulling your ribs down towards your hips. Keep a little gap under your side. Make sure you haven't just rolled yourself forward. We're going to do 2 more like this, and then we're going to just develop it. So if you've got a resistance band, you can always tie the resistance band around the top of your legs or around your thigh so that you can add in a little bit more resistance. Today we're just going to have to imagine we've got a book there. Okay, then from there we're going to lift up that knee this time, and then lift and float those ankles. Bring your knees back together, and then slowly lower your ankles. And again, lift and float. Hold and slowly lower. 2 more like this. Lift and float. Keep thinking belly button to spine. Keep that core engaged. Keep imagining you're pushing that heavy object off the top of your leg. So this time we're going to lift up. Float those ankles. Take a leg out. Bring that leg back in. Knees close. Ankles slowly lower. 3 more like this. Lift and float. Leg comes out. Leg comes back. And back to the floor. Okay, 2 more. Make sure your hips are staying stacked, one on top of the other, so we're keeping hold of that pelvic stability. Keep pulling your ribs down towards your hips. Don't let go of that connection. I can't remember how many we've done, but we're going to do 1 more. If you do classes with me often, that's kind of always the way it is. Okay, next we're going on to our backs. And on to probably one of my favourite exercises, so shoulder bridge. Really good for spinal mobility. It helps to stretch out those quads, which obviously we're all quad dominant being cyclists, and it lengthens out and strengthens those hamstrings and also works into your glutes. So it's a pretty good exercise all around. Arms are just gently resting on the floor. Make sure your shoulders are nice and set in your back, so don't hold too much tension in that upper body. Then we're just going to take a little pelvic tilt here just to warm up, just on this first one. Then we're going to inhale, then we're going to exhale. We're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time until we're in our bridge position. When we're at the top of our bridge, the weight is in your shoulders, not in your neck, and you're making yourself into a bit of a ski slope. Squeeze your glutes, keep your hips up. Then from here, you're going to inhale. Think about pushing your ribs down towards your hips, but keep your pelvis up off the mat for as long as possible. And you're going to roll back down through each vertebrae one at a time. So this is a lovely spinal mobility exercise as well. Really nice and controlled. So we're going to do 4 more like that. So inhaling at the bottom and exhale, rolling back up. Holding at the top for an inhale. Squeeze your glutes, make sure your hips are lifted. And exhale, slowly rolling back down. Okay, for these final 2, if you want to and you feel strong enough, you can add in a little heel lift. If when you lift your heel, your hip drops to one side and you hip hitch, or your pelvis just seems to slump back to the mat, take out the heel lift. So your hips should be staying exactly where they are, and you just lift and lower with those heels. Inhale there, then exhale, think about rolling gently back down to the mat, keeping your pelvis up for as long as possible, stretching out and mobilizing through that spine. So this is another really good one that I love to do after riding. Inhaling at the bottom and exhaling back up into your bridge. So again, we can put in 2 little heel lifts if you want to. Really squeeze your glutes, think about pushing your hips a little bit higher, then lift and lower on each foot. 2 little heel lifts. Inhale there and exhale slowly back to the mat, keeping that pelvis up for as long as possible. Okay, we're going to do 1 more because I just want to show you a really nice stretch. So we're going to come up into bridge. Squeeze those glutes again. Little heel lift on each side as we're here. Then think about bringing your arms over your head. Leave your arms over your head, inhale. And then exhale, think about pulling your ribs down towards your hips. Keep your pelvis up for as long as you can. And slowly roll back to the mat. Bring your arms back over. Then we're going to bring our right leg out straight. Bring your left leg up and over your body, holding it there. 30 minutes goes really, really quickly. And then bringing that leg back over. So if you were doing this after cycling, you would hold it for a lot longer, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what you can do. Bring that right leg over to the left. Hold it there, don't bounce on it. Bring your right arm out to the side. You really want to hold this for 30 seconds to a minute. Really nice back stretch. Might feel it in other places if you're tight there too. I get it in my hip flexor. And then coming back up. Seeing if you can roll yourself back up to sitting from the floor. It's a little challenge for you. And we're going to do our other side of clown. So, lying back down, making sure your knees are glued together to start with, ankles are glued together, chin's lifted, cores engaged. Think about pulling yourself away from the mat. Heavy book on that knee. You're going to push that heavy book up and off. Keep your ribs connected, make sure your hip doesn't roll back, and then slowly lower. We're going to do 4 more like this. Keep thinking belly button to spine, keep that core engaged. 2 more like this, really push that heavy book off your knee. And final one like this. And now we're going to add in lifting those heels. So we're going to push off that heavy book and then float your heels. Bring your knees back together and then bring your heels softly down. 3 more like this. Keep thinking belly button to spine, keep that core engaged. And 1 more. Keep thinking belly button to spine, pull your ribs down towards your hips. Okay, now we're going to add in that leg lift. Now if you don't want to take the leg out, you can just do one of the other 2 sets that we've already done. If that's too much for you today, just pare it back a little bit, that's absolutely fine. Work at the level that suits you. I'm going to do 1 more like this after this one. So final one. And out, back in, knees together and heels come gently down. Super. Okay. Rolling back up to sitting. Feet are coming, I'm going to go this way. Feet are coming to hip distance apart, so we're going to look at that core and do 1 core exercise. So tucking your chin, tilting your pelvis. Imagine someone's poked you in the tummy. You've moved yourself away from that poke, so you've tucked your pelvis in. You're going to roll yourself back to where you can hold it, and we're going to hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then slowly roll yourself back up. Come back so you're sitting up nice and tall on those sit bones. And then from here we're going to inhale again. Exhale, tuck your chin, tilt your pelvis, bring yourself back. Hold it there for an inhale. And exhale, come back up. Okay, we're going to do 1 more of those. Tucking that pelvis. Keep your chin tucked, holding it there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And coming back up. Then bring yourself onto both knees. Feet, no, feet are hip distance apart, but your knees are hip distance apart too. Taking a big step forward with 1 foot. Tucking that pelvis under, pushing into that bent leg. Make sure your knee tracks your toe but doesn't go over your toe. Keep your chest up, so don't lean forward into the stretch. Move your hips forward into the stretch. We're just stretching out through that hip flexor. Okay, then interlacing your fingers behind your back, bring in that chest stretch. So just opening up through that chest, hold it there. And then bringing yourself back to both knees. Other leg comes forward, tucking that pelvis under, pushing into that bent leg. Again, knee tracks your toe but doesn't go over, so you're protecting that knee joint. Keep your chest up, don't lean yourself forward into it. Hold it there. And going to interlace those fingers behind your back, bring in that chest stretch. Then coming back to both knees. Knees stay hip distance apart, tucking those toes under, bring your hands to the floor just in front of you. Then from there you're going to push yourself up into inverted V. Then bending your left leg, you're going to push your weight into your right leg, hold it there. And then come back to the middle and push the weight into your left leg, hold it there. And come back to the middle. Then bending your knees, walk your hands in. Inhale here, then exhale, bring your pelvis back underneath you and come up to standing. Okay, then bringing your right leg over your left leg. Going to roll back down like we did at the start. Bring your hands out in front of you in case you feel like you're going to fall forward, and just push your weight into your toes. So this is a really nice calf, IT and hamstring whammy. If you're feeling any tension in your lower back, please roll back up and just miss this one out for me. Keep your hands in front of you in case you feel like you're going forward. And then rolling back up. Giving yourself a moment for that blood to resettle, and then bringing your left leg in front of your right leg and slowly rolling yourself back down. Hands are back in front of you, push into those toes. So again, it's just stretching out through that hamstring, calf and IT. Really nice stretch. Push into your feet if you need a little bit more. Keep your hands in front of you so that you, if you feel like you're going forward, you can stop yourself, hold it there. And then slowly rolling back up to standing. One more stretch to go, I promise, then I'll stop talking. Feet are back underneath you, right arm is coming up and over, bending your knees, either taking your arm to the outside of your leg or bringing it under your foot. Then your other arm comes into the air, and then you're going to pull that shoulder back to the ceiling. Make sure your pelvis stays square, so don't turn and twist. Keep your hips straight on, and just pull your shoulder back to the ceiling. Hold it there. So this again is a really nice mobilization. That's not the word I was looking for. It's a really nice stretch for that upper back. And then bringing that other arm down, rolling yourself back up to standing, and the other side. So bringing that arm up and over, bending your knees, either holding onto the side of your leg or under your foot. Other arm comes into the air, keep your pelvis square on, pull your shoulder back to the ceiling. And bring that arm back down, rolling yourself back up to standing. Then we're going to do 4 big shoulder rolls backwards and 4 big shoulder rolls forwards, and then we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you enjoyed my little Pilates taster session with mainly cycling specific moves involved.